My parents took me to a luxury restaurant for my 25th birthday. Halfway through dinner, my father slid an envelope across the table and told me I was adopted. Then my mother smiled and said they had only kept me because I was financially useful. What they didn't know was that my birth family was sitting 3 tables away. My name is Paige. I'm 25 years old. And this is Relaxing Drama Stories. Growing up, I always felt like a guest in my own home. Not abused. Not neglected. Just tolerated. Like someone keeping a receipt they might need later. My parents, Richard and Donna Mercer, weren't cruel in obvious ways. They fed me, clothed me, sent me to good schools, took family photos every Christmas. From the outside, we looked normal, successful, comfortable, happy. But love has a temperature, and ours always felt cold. My friends hugged their parents. I shook hands with mine. Other children received encouragement. I received evaluations. Every report card became a performance review. Every achievement became an expectation. Every mistake became evidence. My father treated conversations like business meetings. My mother treated affection like a limited resource. Neither ever said they loved me. Not once. When I graduated high school with honors, my father said, "Good. That's what we invested in." Invested. Not proud of. Not happy for. Invested. At 17, I thought it was a strange choice of words. At 25, I understood it perfectly. My parents loved transactions. Everything had value. Everything had conditions. Everything had a return expected. I spent years trying to earn affection that should have been free. College. Scholarships. Part-time jobs. Perfect grades. Perfect behavior. Perfect daughter. Nothing worked. The finish line kept moving. By 24, I stopped trying. That's when something unexpected happened. The distance became easier. Painful relationships hurt less when you stop expecting them to improve. Then, 6 months before my 25th birthday, I found a file. Completely by accident. I was helping my parents organize documents after a water leak damaged part of their basement. Old records. Insurance papers. Tax folders. Boring adult paperwork. Then I saw my name. A thick manila folder. Labeled. Adoption. For a moment, I thought it belonged to someone else. Then I opened it. My world changed in less than 30 seconds. Adoption records. Court documents. Agency information. My birth certificate. Not the copy I grew up with. The original. A different last name. Different parents. Different beginning. I sat on the basement floor for almost an hour, reading everything repeatedly. Certain I misunderstood. Certain there had to be a mistake. There wasn't. I was adopted. And my parents never told me. Not when I was 5. Not when I was 10. Not when I became an adult. Never. When I finally confronted them that evening, their reaction shocked me. Not because they denied it. Because they didn't care. My mother barely looked up from her phone. "Well, I suppose you would have found out eventually." Eventually? My father folded his newspaper. "We plan to discuss it at some point." "When?" He shrugged. "No reason to rush." No reason to rush. 24 years. No reason to rush. I left shortly afterward. Not dramatically. Just quietly. The same way most important endings happen. That night, I couldn't sleep. Questions filled every corner of my mind. Who were my biological parents? Were they alive? Did they think about me? Did they regret giving me up? Did I have siblings? Did I look like anyone? The next morning, I started searching. I told nobody. Not friends. Not coworkers. Not my parents. Especially not my parents. The search became my private project. My secret. For 6 months, I followed every lead. Every document. Every public record. Every clue. Some days felt hopeless. Some days felt promising. Most days felt emotional. I wasn't searching because I needed replacement parents. I was searching because everyone deserves to know their own beginning. Eventually, I found them. Not immediately. Not dramatically. Gradually. A name. Then another. Then an address. Then confirmation. My biological mother was alive. So was my biological father. They had married years after I was born. Life circumstances had forced the adoption. Not rejection. Not abandonment. Circumstances. And somehow that mattered. A lot. I stared at the first photograph for nearly 20 minutes. A family picture. 3 daughters. 1 son. 2 parents. And shockingly, I looked exactly like them. For 25 years, I had never seen my own face reflected in another person. Then suddenly it was everywhere. My eyes. My smile. My nose. My expressions. It felt surreal. Like finding a missing chapter from a book you'd read your entire life. I didn't contact them immediately. I waited. Thought carefully. Prepared emotionally. Then one evening I sent a letter. Simple. Respectful. No expectations. Just truth. 3 days later my phone rang. I still remember the number. I still remember staring at it. Terrified. Hopeful. Shaking. When I answered, neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then a woman quietly said, "Paige." I started crying immediately. Not because of sadness. Because some part of me recognized her voice before my brain did. My biological mother cried too. Neither of us had prepared for that. The conversation lasted almost 3 hours. Then another. Then another. Weeks passed. Calls became regular. Photos were exchanged. Stories were shared. Questions were answered. And slowly, carefully, relationships formed. Not instant family. Not movie-style reunions. Real relationships. The kind built through honesty. I met them in person 2 months later. My biological mother's name was Laura. My biological father was Michael. I had 3 sisters. 1 younger brother. Nobody pressured me. Nobody demanded anything. Nobody expected immediate closeness. They simply made room. That was the difference. My adoptive parents made me feel tolerated. My biological family made me feel welcomed. The first dinner together remains one of the most emotional moments of my life. Not because anything dramatic happened. Because nothing dramatic happened. A seat was waiting. My favorite drink was remembered. Questions were asked. Answers were heard. People laughed. People listened. People cared. I drove home that night and cried in my car for 40 minutes. Not because I found a perfect family. Because I finally experienced something I didn't know I was missing. Warmth. Then came my 25th birthday. 3 weeks earlier, my adoptive parents surprised me. "We'd like to take you somewhere special," my mother announced. That immediately felt suspicious. My parents never celebrated birthdays enthusiastically. Cards. Cake. Done. That was usually the extent of it. But suddenly they wanted an expensive restaurant. Private dining. A formal celebration. I almost declined. Something felt wrong. But curiosity won. The restaurant overlooked the river downtown. Elegant. Expensive. The kind of place where menus don't display prices. I arrived first. My parents arrived 15 minutes later. My father carried a leather envelope. I noticed it immediately. Business envelope. Not birthday envelope. The evening began strangely. No birthday wishes. No gifts. No small talk. Just uncomfortable silence. Then appetizers arrived. My father cleared his throat. My mother folded her hands. And I knew, whatever this dinner was, it wasn't a celebration. My father slid the envelope across the table. "Before we continue," he said, "we need to discuss something." I looked at the envelope. Then at him. Then back at the envelope. "What is this?" My mother smiled. Not warmly. Nervously. Relieved. Like someone finally reaching the end of a burden. The feeling unsettled me immediately. My father answered, "The truth." I opened the envelope slowly. Inside sat copies of adoption paperwork. The same documents I discovered months earlier. Then my mother said 5 words that changed everything. "You were always adopted, Paige." I looked up. Neither parent appeared emotional. Neither appeared concerned. Neither appeared guilty. They looked
finished.
like employees completing paperwork before retirement. And suddenly, I realized this dinner wasn't about honesty. It was about dismissal. What happened next would reveal exactly why. I stared at the adoption papers. Not shocked. Not anymore. I had already known for 6 months. What shocked me was their attitude. The complete lack of emotion. The complete lack of concern. 25 years together. And they discussed it like a canceled insurance policy. My father folded his hands neatly on the table. We felt now was the appropriate time. I nodded slowly. And my mother exchanged a glance with him. Then she spoke. We think it's best if everyone moves forward. Forward. That word sounded strange. Dangerous. Like there was something hiding behind it. What exactly does that mean? I asked. My father slid another document toward me. Legal paperwork. Several pages. Prepared professionally. I looked down. Then back up. Then down again. Because surely I misunderstood. Surely. But I hadn't. The documents officially removed me from their estate plans. Inheritance. Trust accounts. Property interests. Everything. My mother took a sip of wine.
Calmly. Casually.
Like we were discussing whether. We've decided to leave everything to your cousins. I blinked. My cousins. Blood family, she clarified. Blood family. Interesting choice of words. Especially now. For a moment, nobody spoke. The river shimmered beyond the restaurant windows. Soft music played somewhere in the background. Other diners laughed. Celebrated. Lived normal evenings. Meanwhile, my parents were dismantling 25 years of family ties. And somehow acting inconvenienced by the process. My father continued. We think it's cleaner this way.
Cleaner.
Another fascinating word. Not fair. Not necessary.
Cleaner. He said quietly.
Listening. Learning. Because people reveal themselves most honestly when they believe they've already won. My mother smiled slightly. We wanted to tell you before the paperwork became official. I looked at the documents again. Then noticed something. The filing dates. Interesting. Very interesting. The paperwork wasn't recent. Some of it had been prepared almost 8 months earlier. 8 months.
Before they told me.
Before this dinner. Before any discussion. The decision had already been made. This wasn't a conversation. It was a notification. My father leaned back. Almost relieved. Then he delivered the sentence that explained everything. We've done our part. There it was. The truth. Not hidden. Not disguised. Plain and simple. They viewed parenthood as a contract. An obligation. A temporary arrangement. A transaction. And now they considered the account closed. I looked at them carefully. Really carefully. For the first time in my life. Not as parents. As people. And suddenly decades of confusion made sense. The emotional distance. The constant evaluation. The conditional support. The lack of warmth. None of it had been accidental. My mother sighed dramatically. Honestly, Paige, we've been carrying this responsibility for years. Responsibility. I nearly laughed. 25 years. And that was the word she chose. Not daughter. Not family. Responsibility. Then came the worst part, the part that still amazes me. My father glanced around the restaurant before lowering his voice. We only agreed to the adoption because it made financial sense at the time. The world became very quiet. We received assistance. He continued speaking. Calmly. Matter-of-factly. Like explaining tax deductions. There were certain benefits available. Benefits. I stared at him. Certain benefits. That was how he described my childhood. My existence. My life. Benefits. My mother nodded. We thought we'd become attached. I waited. She shrugged. It never really happened. The silence afterward felt enormous. For a moment, I considered yelling, crying, arguing, demanding explanations. But something unexpected happened. I felt calm. Completely calm. Because when people finally show you who they are, Confusion disappears. And confusion had been hurting me for years. Now I understood. Everything. My mother looked uncomfortable. Probably because I wasn't reacting the way she expected. Say something. I smiled softly. What would you like me to say?
She frowned.
I don't know. Something. My father checked his watch. Actually checked his watch. During the conversation where he disowned his daughter. That told me everything I needed to know. Then my mother delivered her final mistake. At least now you can focus on finding your real family. Real family. 3 tables away. I almost smiled. Because she had no idea. Neither of them did. For 6 months I had been preparing for many possible outcomes. Rejection. Questions. Complications. But somehow I never imagined this. Still, I came prepared. Not for revenge. For clarity. I reached into my purse.
Pulled out my phone.
Opened a photograph. Then placed it on the table. My mother looked down first. Then my father. Both froze. The photograph showed me standing between Laura and Michael. Smiling. Surrounded by my biological siblings.
Happy. Genuinely happy.
My mother's face changed immediately. What is this? I answered calmly. My family. Neither parent spoke. I continued. I found them 6 months ago. My father stared. Speechless. For perhaps the first time in his life. My mother blinked repeatedly. You found them? Yes. When? Shortly after I found the adoption file. The color drained from her face. Suddenly, they weren't controlling the conversation anymore. And they knew it. My father sat forward. You contacted them? Yes. Without discussing it with us? I almost laughed. The irony was unbelievable. 25 years of secrecy. And now he wanted consultation. We've spent months getting to know each other. I said it gently, not cruelly, just truthfully. Then I glanced across the restaurant. Toward table 14. My mother followed my eyes. Then my father. Then both froze. Because there they were. Laura. Michael. My sisters. My brother. 3 tables away. Not hiding. Not spying. Simply waiting. Just in case. The realization hit my parents simultaneously. My mother whispered, "Oh my God." My father looked genuinely stunned. For the first time all evening, they seemed unsure. Powerless. Unprepared. My biological mother noticed me looking. She smiled warmly. The kind of smile that reaches someone's eyes. Then she raised her glass slightly. Not confrontational. Not dramatic. Just supportive. My mother looked back at me. You brought them here?
No.
I don't understand. I nodded. I know. That answer irritated her. Good. She deserved discomfort. I deserved peace. For 25 years, I spent energy trying to earn approval. Tonight, I finally stopped. My father looked toward Laura and Michael again. Then quietly asked, "They know everything." That answer landed hard. Because secrets only protect people while they remain hidden. My mother shifted uncomfortably. What exactly have you told them? I smiled. The truth. The truth. Such a simple thing. Such a dangerous thing. My father rubbed his forehead. Clearly frustrated. Clearly losing control of a conversation he expected to dominate. Then he asked something surprising. Are they wealthy? I actually laughed. Out loud. The question was so perfectly him.
Not.
Are they kind?
Not.
Are you happy?
Not.
How has this been for you?
No.
Are they wealthy? Transactional until the very end. I shook my head. I honestly don't know. His confusion deepened. You don't know?
No.
How could you not know? Because normal people don't meet family and immediately request financial statements. But I didn't bother saying that. Instead, I answered. It never mattered. My biological father suddenly stood from his table. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Just respectfully. He walked over slowly. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Michael stopped beside me. then placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. Nothing more. One simple gesture. Yet somehow it said everything. Support. Protection. Presence. My father noticed immediately. So did my mother. And for the first time all evening, they looked jealous. Not of money. Not of inheritance. Of connection. The thing they never bothered building. Michael smiled politely. Paige. Yeah. Whenever you're ready. That was it.
No speeches. No confrontation. No accusations.
Just whenever you're ready. A seat waiting. A choice. An invitation. The exact opposite of everything happening at my current table. My mother looked devastated. Maybe because she finally understood. Not what she lost tonight. What she never built. Michael returned to his table. The silence afterwards stretched endlessly. Finally I stood. My father looked shocked. That's it. I nodded. That's it. My mother panicked slightly. You're just leaving? Yes. Don't you want to discuss this? I looked at the legal papers, the adoption records, the estate documents, then back at her. You spent 8 months making decisions without me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Nothing left to argue. Nothing left to explain. I picked up my purse, then paused. Not for revenge. Not for a final speech. Just one honest statement. The difference between them and you isn't biology. Both parents stared. I continued. The difference is that they wanted to know me. Nobody spoke, because nobody could. Then I smiled politely. The same smile I used my entire childhood. The one that hid disappointment. Except this time it didn't. This time it hid freedom. I walked across the restaurant. Past expensive tables. Past curious diners. Past 25 years of confusion. And sat down with my family. Not perfect people. Not magical people. Just people who made room. Someone immediately moved a chair. Someone asked if I wanted dessert. Someone handed me a birthday card. Someone remembered my favorite cake. Small things. Ordinary things. The things that matter most. I glanced back once. My adoptive parents still sat alone. Not abandoned. Not victimized. Simply facing the consequences of their own choices. The dinner continued without me. So did life. The following months were surprisingly peaceful. My parents attempted contact. Emails.
Calls.
Messages. Mostly explanations disguised as apologies. But explanations don't change history. And apologies don't automatically restore access. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger requires emotional investment. I simply accepted reality. Eventually, I received one final letter from my mother. Inside was a single sentence. We didn't think you'd find somewhere else to belong. I read it twice, then laughed softly. Because there it was. The real tragedy. Not that they lost a daughter. That they genuinely believed nobody else would want me. Meanwhile, my biological family kept doing something remarkable. Nothing. No pressure.
No demands. No expectations.
Just inclusion. Birthdays. Barbecues. Movie nights. Phone calls. Ordinary love. The kind I'd spent 25 years searching for. A year later, I hosted my 26th birthday. Small gathering. Close friends. Family. Real family. At one point I looked around the room. People laughing.
Talking.
Sharing stories. A seat saved for me before I even arrived. And suddenly I remembered something Laura told me during our first meeting. Family isn't the people who make you prove your worth. It's the people who already know it. That sentence changed everything. So, if you're listening tonight while questioning your value because someone treated you like an obligation, listen carefully. Your worth isn't determined by people who only see transactions. Your value isn't measured by what you provide. And belonging isn't something you earn through perfect behavior. The right people don't keep score. They keep a seat open. This is Relaxing Drama Stories. And sometimes the quietest person in a room is already walking toward a table where they're finally welcome.